Hey guys, I'm working. As indicated by the title, I am going to try. I don't have a tripod tonight. But what I'm going to do is I have one of these that's already in the oven. The base color, I know there's no one here yet, but people are going to watch this after. So, let's see who... Hey! I'm getting ready to do a facet pattern on these. There's someone here. I was just saying to no one, because no one was present, that I'm gonna get some work done on these because these just came out of heat treat. So there's one already in to get the base color on, but I'm doing something special with it. So I'm gonna do base color on all of them, but I have one. Actually, I need to do two. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Let's go do ceramic coating on this. Ceramic coating on this one first. So I'll set you here. Please don't mind the fact that I'm fat and take up the majority of the screen. Nice. Cryo treating, okay. So I will answer this one question and then I gotta do this, or it's gonna be midnight before I get out of here. So what cryo treating does is, cryo treating takes it down below zero and does a sub-zero quench, which aligns the molecules and tightens them up and changes the crystalline structure that's in the perlite, austenite, and all those things that you do. So after you temper, if you do that, it locks that in tighter, and it can actually get you a couple points on the Rockwell scale. But the fact is, it's a pain in the ass to do. You can use isopropyl alcohol and dry ice. You can do I forget what the other one, I think you use acetone and dry ice and get a very, no, I was shitting my brains out this morning and last night, but I got work to do. But what it does is it lets you get a tighter grain structure and a basically harder overall. I'm gonna rinse this and get any oils and stuff that's on it first. So, I actually ceramic coat before I grind. It's a little easier that way because it's easier to find any mistakes you made. So I did heat treat, I did blast. These were all, that shit, boys. Crew serve weapons instructor. Because they were double disc ground, it gave me a better surface finish, and so there was actually one less step. I did not have to change anything and sand anything after heat treat. So all you guys have always asked me about the ceramic coating. This is how I do it. It goes on with electricity. You do electricity and, oh bro, no, it was bad. I took Imodium and it laughed at that shit. Like I took Imodium and it was like, haha. My wife gave me some Japanese medicine that is for diarrhea and it has a distinctive smell. 15 minutes after I took it, I could smell it in the toilet. I had shit out that medicine. So I just haven't eaten anything. I have eaten nothing in 2 days now. So rinse agent. And distilled water. For any obvious flaws, but the thing about this is these two are the only ones that have to be perfect because the rest of them are getting tumbled. I mean, I can always re-blast them. It's not that big a deal. So basically, haha, cool, Brad. So basically what they do is I let them air dry. That one's basically ready to be baked, but I'm gonna break all four. But I'm gonna do a facet pattern on the other two. What's up, brother? Yes, I did. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a fucking man. I admit it. I got so goddamn sick the other night that when I took to throwing up real hard, I shit my pants. It was bad. So the other two, god damn it, I've done it again. Ferrum Forge has got a wormhole, and you set something down, and then you can't find it. It's like a bend in the space-time continuum or some shit. So this is gonna be loud, guys. There's a good chance you're not gonna be able to hear what I'm talking about. And I don't have a full battery, but how much do they, and yes, they do come with a sheath. That's why they're 130 to begin with. Starter's 130 because that's the price of the sheath. And then cheapest options, one color ceramic or blast and tumble. The blast and tumble looks really fucking good, actually. That's what mine is. Mine just has a ceramic coating on the spine. Give me a second, guys. I gotta turn this down a little bit. It's gonna be loud, I'm sorry, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Wow, that got hot. See, guys? Everything is done by hand. we're not done yet. We got stuff we got to do. I'm gonna make sure we've got all of the bead blast surface cleaned off, because you won't get a good, no, not on these. These are too small. I could hand engrave it, but you know, these pretty much all get a ceramic coating. And I think that that would be a bit much for that. Let's see, can you guys see the wheel? You can't. Let's move this up here then. So you're probably not gonna be able to see what I'm doing, and I'm not gonna be able to see you guys, but I'm gonna clean up this area here and all the chamfers. Down the spine already is decorated. Switch wheels. What else get hot? I forgot that this wheel is has been dressed. So there's another wheel over here that I use from time to time. Most of the time. Well, people are leaving? 16? 16 people. Some of y'all have left. So guys, all I'm doing is I'm rounding off this area so there's no sharp edges, and then I'll hit this border, and then I'm done with that. It's really hot. Oh, forgot something. Missed a step. That's hot. Beat me to what? Fucking up your Stinger XL? What we got here? Let's see. Yeah, right, working. No, I'm working. I think he's facing the wall. Yes, I prefer PayPal. Like Superman or something. Here's the thing. If you guys want a logo on a knife, I can do it, but you have got to do it in a vinyl sticker that will hold up to bead blast, media blast, because basically I sandblast them. So, you know, it depends on what you got, you know, in mind. I have to ceramic coat these so that I can bake them. So that was a real quick. Let's see here. Because it's going to take me 30 minutes to get these baked. Let's see. What's a good question? Give me a second, I'll look at some of them. But if you would be ever so kind as to throw that question back up. Was it directed at me or somebody else? That water keeps going down the drain. About the groundhog? Fuck that fucking rodent. Not that I care, it's like 70 degrees right now. Looks good. Drunk. Oh yeah, I got a beer over here. Pucks, Tawny Phil. Let's see what's going on here. What are you guys talking about? Sorry guys, I know I'm busy, but no, what I was saying is a good thick, if somebody can get a good thick vinyl sticker cut out with a laser, it'd be great. I had somebody say that they were going to get some laser ones done. I think Nico said he was going to get some laser ones done in vinyl. He knows a guy that's got a laser. Laser! I'm working on it. Should be. Nope, nope, nope. Still got a problem. So what I've done, guys, haven't been ignoring you, is I have put the base coat down. I'm so fucking disappointed right now, Nico. So I got here 10:30 this morning, and I spent the entire day until it is currently, I think it's 7 o'clock p.m. right now-ish, 7:20. It's almost 7:30. I have spent the entire day and have only gotten four knives heat treated. So when people ask me, like when I do this and people are like, oh, you should sell them for less. Fuck that. I have spent an entire 9-hour day and just now, gotten to the point where I'm ready to actually start. But they're not ready to be anything yet. 9-hour day just to transition from that oven to that oven, then down to there to cool off. So, you know, I don't want to sound like, I hope I don't sound like a prick. I mean, I know it's pretty easy. It's nothing to do with that. It takes you, do you know how it took that oven? Yeah, I know. So it took that oven till noon. No. Till 1 to get to 2,200 degrees. Then I had to pull them out. Then I had to throw them in the other oven. And then I have to get that oven to 1,000. And then they have to sit in that oven to get to 1,000 degrees, which took about 2 hours. Which meant at 3 o'clock, they were at 1,000 degrees and had to sit for 2 hours. They just came out, like they were still warm when I took them in and bead blasted them about 20, 30 minutes ago. Before I started a live feed, I had just finished bead blasting them, and they were still warm to the touch from the 1,000 degree second temper cycle. So, I mean, it's not like I've wasted any time today. And then when somebody says, oh, you should just sell them for a lower price point, well, then I'm doing them for free. I don't know if you guys know this. You don't make a profit when you do shit for free. Which is why, because no joke, while those things were in the oven, I spent the entire day sharpening neck knives that have to go out. Which is why they no longer get that mirror polish right off the thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have a leather belt in there. There's a leather belt for, hang on a second, guys. I saw something weird. Okay. Anyway, so they'll get a good finish, but they're going to be a lot like knives that you get from a production knife, because I can't continue to sharpen those things by hand for free. I can't. I had one of those that had sometimes the grit, a small piece of that abrasive belt will come off the surface and then come down through and leave deep scratches. And there was a couple of those. And I had one of those two that I sharpened today. Took me an hour and 45 minutes just to get all the original scratch marks out from the belt, and then to, from that to, you know, to the 600, 400, 600, and 2,000. I mean, don't get me wrong, they look good, but that's the last two that are ever getting done like that at the regular price point. It's not me being greedy. It's just me looking at my process and realizing There's shit I'm doing for free. What's in my pocket? I have a rare Benchmade Osborne 440. I can't remember what the name of it was. It was out something. It was I can't remember. And of course I have my NTAC. This 9 times out of 10 is what's going to be in my pocket. 99% of the time, that's what's in my pocket. It's a Benchmade. It fits in your watch pocket, and it's no pocket clip, 3-inch blade. The only Benchmades I like are Osborne's, the 940, and now this one. But I'm selling this one. I don't like it enough to keep it. I put it up on Instagram today. But nice, smooth action. I mean, I took it apart and cleaned all the internals, and it's really nice and snappy. But it's kind of a modified sheep's foot. It's pretty nice. For me to say I like that Benchmade, it's saying a lot. So the thing with this is, you can't have any water drops. You can't really have any water drops because this one had to. It runs on, so it runs on washers, but that knife is 10 years old and had never been cleaned up. And now we wait. Never been to heaven, but you've been to Oklahoma. That's the frightening thing. And it was on purpose. I gotta trim my fucking beard. I know. You're like, I'm bored. Let me take this apart, see what's in it. See if I can't get something stuck and pivot. That's a good idea. That's not something that I may have to send it to someone. Yeah, it's phosphor bronze washers. I actually replaced them. I put new ones in. I happened to have some spare parts from another knife. I put them on. I took my thickness micrometer and checked them, and they were exactly the same size. I checked with a set of calipers, exactly the same pivot diameter, and exactly the same diameter. And I put those in, and it smoothed up the action on this significantly. But it's just a nice little gentleman's folder. I am going to resharpen. I haven't sharpened it yet. I mean, it's pretty sharp, but I have not sharpened it, and I'm going to sharpen it before it goes to the new owner, because I put it up for free. It depends on where you put the pressure. It depends on which screw you took out first. All of their stuff is really, really tight tolerances on the Fire & Forge knives. And they're all shouldered to give you the right thickness and what you may have done. You know, not to tell. Okay, so I am going to do a video about taking apart a Fire & Forge knife. When you do the pivot on a Fire & Forge knife, you don't crank that motherfucker down all you can. What you do is you crank it down until there's no more blade play, and you just make sure that you're nice and even, and your action's good, and then you just fucking leave it. So I usually crank it down, and I torque it back a little bit, and I see, is my action still the way I want it? Do I have any blade play? No lock rock? Just leave it. Because what happens is, since all their parts are shouldered, the pivot doesn't actually set any of these distances. All these parts, the internals, your stop pin and your backspacer basically set the distance, and your pivot screw, like, you could get away without even having a pivot screw as long as you were careful not to let it fall out. I'm not joking. They're a lot like a Sebenza in that way, where the pivot is just basically there to, you know, you never go full retard, right, Charles? So, but you can't. Here's the thing. You can't hurt the bearing track on these, because what takes up that distance is the stop pin and the backspacer. So no matter how tight, the only thing you're doing when you crank that pivot down tighter is just squishing the titanium and making it gull up against these other surfaces, the steel stop pin. And that's probably what is, if you crank it down too tight, it has a tendency to gull up. gall against that. So you're not actually, your pivot doesn't have to be super tight, just enough that there's no play in it at all, and then just leave it, because what actually accepts all that, and that's why they don't have to put washers in there, is because no matter how tight you crank that, you're not going to cause any additional wear on that titanium, because you can't crank it any tighter, because the distance between here and here is set by the other hardware, which is a really smart way to do things. Because then you don't have to worry about somebody, oh, I cranked my pivot down and then it fucking wore and this and that. You don't have to worry about that, because your pivot really is not doing anything except just giving a surface for your blade to ride on. Their clips are fucking awesome, aren't they? You don't have to, for some knives, yeah. For a Ferrum Forge, not really. It's pretty, they self-center. They really do, unless you forget to put a washer in it. Or not a washer, a set of bearings. Yeah, don't smoke weed and take your knife apart. Lesson learned. I left the bearings out of this once. Let's go see. So this ceramic coating, like, okay, so case in point, I took this apart and I had to play with this for about 20 minutes to get it centered. And that is the only issue with this knife, is it is a little off center. Because if you crank it down any tighter, once you get it centered, it's so stiff. Even with the old washers in it. So it is just slightly off center. But so I found the sweet spot on this and I fucking Loctited that bitch. If I can crank, oh, there we go, leave it. And I set it in the sun for the Loctite to cure. So it's, I like this knife. Not a bad knife for a Benchmade. And it doesn't look like it was misground. So you guys know, you can see, that isn't some special piece of equipment. This is a Black & Decker toaster oven that's been turned on its side. Looking at the anode tank, I anodized my necklace. I have a titanium necklace that my mother-in-law got these for me. These are crystals that are apparently supposed to be good for me. And so I'm allergic to like the plated plated silver, or even like regular silver. So to get me a necklace for it, she got me a titanium necklace. And I anodized that shit green, because it was bronze and that was blue. It was purple for a while. It's like my wedding ring. It doesn't stay the same color very long. Right now it's my patinaed finish. It's not, here's the thing, it's really hard to show you anodizing. I would have to, next time Nico's over, I will have Nico do it, and I'll put the live feed up. We will anodize something. It's really hard to do, to do it one-handed to show you, and two, it's really not that spectacular. So, I mean, it's just, you apply electricity and it just changes color. Like literally like that. Let's see if I can find. All right, guys, we'll do this. First thing I have to do is I got to soak it in some multi-etch for a little bit. Multi-etch is a very nasty chemical. So of course I'm not using gloves. Dunk it down in here for a couple minutes, and then we'll pull it out and I'll change color on it. I'll turn it blue. I mean, it's cool to watch, but there's not much to it. So let's see here. Voltage is set at 15, 16. Let's crank this up to 20. I'll leave that there. And that way it's gonna be easier. So somebody tell me when it's been 3 minutes, and I will pull this shit out of the etching compound and show you what's, oh, this is the cool part. So if you guys remember, that was kind of a matte finish on those. If you can see, just in the, I don't know, 10 minutes that they've been in there, it that ceramic cures and turns shiny. Back in the day, like this one, Benchmade actually was not overpriced. The quality matched what you were paying. The only issue I have with this knife is there's a little rattle. So there's a stop pin in there that keeps the blade from over traveling. It's a small little stop pin that the sharpening notch sits in. That rattles. And that's the only thing that bothers me. I tried to take it apart. I took it apart and I tried to address it. And the fact is that those pins just sit in the wood and they rattle a little bit. And, you know, it's basically, apparently, from what I was looking about these, they all did that. And I was like, well, I guess it's it's just the way that knife was made. So I love this. I've carried this all day. I just took it off because it was poking me. So let's see. Matt at Armitage Carry. Like I said, dude, Matt, I'm telling you guys, Matt does amazing. These came in, and he did them in a carbon fiber finish. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I called this the birdshot finish. I'm not at all ever going to do that for anyone. I had one guy ask for it specifically, and I'm like, that's it. Probably not going to do that finish again. That finish would cost more. 'Cause there's a lot that goes into that milled finish on those. It's too much work. So this one is the one that was going for like 3 and 4 that I saw online. This one's got some scratches, and it's obviously had some carry and wear. And I'm gonna resharpen it, so I put it up for I think 150. I've seen them go for 4, but I don't know how pristine a condition those ones were in. But they are rare. There's not many. I showed my buddy Bill is a freaking Benchmade nut. He loves Benchmade, and he said he'd never seen one. I was like, oh, cool. So he said never handled one. He'd seen them but they only made them for. I don't think they made those for an entire year. I was looking, and they were only produced for like 6 months. I guess they weren't that popular, but they are now. It's one of those things like, well, case in point, Fire and Forge NTAC. We're not real popular. There's a lot of people that want them now. And you're like, too bad, dude. Fucking shit out of luck. they don't make them shits no more. There was 200 of them. I think there was 200, and then they made a few extras just because they had extra parts, and they would release one every once in a while. Yeah, because people realized that this is a pretty fucking awesome knife. 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Well, it doesn't have to be exact. Like, I gotcha. Thanks. Here's the disturbing thing. I paid for that beer. Not my favorite kind. And it's not really cold. So it's my third favorite. It's everything else. All right, guys. So what you do is you can kind of already see this stuff will let you know definitely if you have any cuts. What you've done is here. Oh, actually, you know what I should do? This will be easier. Let's see. Is there any winks in that tub? We'll do something cool. We'll do something cool, guys. So this tub gets Winks rust remover put in it. So some people are like, oh, you shouldn't waste that stuff. Here's the thing. I bought this stuff. Oh, that stinks. Probably shouldn't be breathing this stuff. So what I'm doing right now is this. This has got sulfuric acid in it, and sulfuric acid reacts with titanium and creates a substance called, that's what your green is, it's in there, is, okay, hang on a second. Let me remember my chemistry. Ooh, it's warm. It's titanium. titanium sulfide. It says TiSO3. TiSO3, that's what it is. So as quickly as you can, you rinse it off and you put it here. And you dip it down in here so it's not being exposed to oxygen. And when you turn this on, so we were at 20, very rapidly it goes through a cycle of colors. So now it's a purple, and it should be working its way into a dark blue. So we're at 21, and every volt you go up, oh shit, we gotta go this way. There's 21, got some purple, 22, starting to get in some darker blue, 23, 23, 24, 25. 25 is my favorite color of blue. Now right now it looks very dark. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this out. I'm gonna rinse it off. And we will dry it off. And you guys will see as I dry this, take you along for this. It's a little dark over here. We might not be able to see it real well. We'll set this down. Plug your ears, boys. It's gonna be loud. And what you get is that. Now, keep in mind, I didn't resurface finish this. I didn't blast it or anything. So you're gonna have some places that are not. Now, somebody asked me one time, I was like, well, why is it darker when it's wet? Well, titanium oxide reflects, titanium oxide doesn't have any color. We just talked about this earlier today. So titanium oxide doesn't have any color. What it does is, the thicker the layer, the way it reflects color is different. And so you wind up with reflection of colors, a prismatic effect, just like a prism splits at different angles, it will make colors. Yeah, there's been people, and you know what? I don't give a fuck, because the thing is, we'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, so what happens is you get this prismatic effect where the light reflects and reflects and refracts the visible spectrum, and then it bounces back a certain color. So it's not actually got a color, it just bounces back a different color at different voltages. And the thing is, since it is a crystalline, almost like a prism, watch happens. My forehead's pretty oily. I've been busy and working. So when I wipe a little bit of oil on my finger, what you're gonna see is, see how it just kind of almost turns black? It happens. And the best way to do that is you just wipe it off with some Windex and you're back to the color you got, and it will wear over time. So that's anodizing. I mean, it's that simple, but the thing is, like, there's colors that are on the spectrum that are kind of hard to find. I can do pink. I've done gold. And beyond gold, I've done some unusual, interesting colors that, just because I took the time to play around with it, I don't know where the fuck I put my wedding. Oh, it's in my pocket. I've taken the time to play around with it. I came up here one day, and since I kind of wanted to take this seriously, I took my titanium wedding ring, which is the same titanium alloy that they use here in the shop, and turn this back down to 0, and then crank it back up to, let's get it up to 14. Leave it at 14 so that when Christopher, because 14 is the lowest voltage you're pretty much going to use. 14 is where bronze is. Bronze is the first color. 14, you go from bronze, you start getting purple into, because bronze is almost yellowish. Then you start getting purples. From purples, you go into blues. Blues, you go into greens. Greens, you go back to a gold-ish bronze. Bronze, then you start adding other more into it, and then you wind up with some really, really strong gold. Then at like about 56, 57 volts, you start getting pink. And then from pink, you go up into your like this, ultraviolet, your high voltage colors. Well, Vinny, you can disagree. Okay, so hey, you ready for this? Elliot, probably one of the smartest guys I know, watches Cliff Stamp, listens to Cliff Stamp. We talked about it. Here's the thing we were talking about. If, you know, we talked about the carbide tear out, shit like that, and Elliot's like, it comes down to this. Anything that will make a knife dull will in turn make it sharp. Because this whole, we were talking about it, like Elliot and I were talking about it, and he looked into it. The conversation that you and I had, Vinny, about carbide tear out. And he goes, well, here's the thing. Then why would you be able to use a leather strop, an unloaded leather strop, to then bring back an edge? Because you can. You can bring a piece of cardboard. Anything that is abrasive will in turn cut and abrade and polish and refine an edge. Anything that can be used to make it dull can also be made it sharp. And he said, as much as he respects Cliff Stamp, he said, Cliff is a fucking genius, but the fact is that some of the things he said have added confusion to the market and confusion to what truly happens when you are working steel. So, like I said, the fact is, if, like Elliot and I were talking about, he's like, wait, so even if those carbides are 1 micron in size, he said, and you're cutting at 10,000 grit, and then you step down to 1 micron, right? And I was like, yeah, that's my next step from 12,000 is 1 micron. He said, there you're using, at that point, you are using a diamond abrasive compound, and you are then, okay, you can argue with Elliot on this because Elliot is a fucking genius. And he's like, so even if you're at 12,000 grit, and then you step down to 1 micron on your strops, you're therefore cutting that carbide. And if you step down even further, you're still refining that edge down. And he goes, you know what? Here's the thing. He's like, I felt your edges. You can't fucking argue that. They're stupid sharp. And I was like, well, yeah. And he's like, I have a knife in there. This was Elliot. He said, I have a knife in there that you sharpened for me for my birthday because you had no money. He's like, I still won't carry it because I'm scared of it. Now, that's a man that makes knives. I'm not doing it. He just did it. He did a video about, maybe I'll get Elliot to do a video with me about and talk about this, because the only, like the SM100. SM100 was developed by NASA. The only people that know as much about SM100 than Elliot is NASA. And as a matter of fact, he's talked to people at NASA about what he's done with it, and they're like, oh, wow. Oh, that's, huh? The man is a fucking genius. And for you or I either want to argue, Cliff Stamp's a very smart guy, and don't get me wrong. I listen to things he says, but the fact is, for millennia, people have used leather strops and things like that to touch up edges on knives. And granted, maybe vanadium carbides, but you know, really the thing is, if you take your time to do it, like Outdoors 55. Outdoors 55 did a thing like, can you strop on cardboard? And he tried and it didn't work. Well, what the fact is, you got to take your time. It takes a minute to do that, but you can do it. I strop my straight razor on felt and then on leather. There's times where if this is dull, I'll throw it on that felt strop. You can't tell me that felt is harder or more harder than the carbides in this steel. It's not. It's not. So there's more to it, you know what I mean, than, Jesus Christ, these fucking things take forever. So we've been in this for an hour. I got a sore throat now because I wasn't. Elliot was talking about the heat treat that he does on 20 CV. So like last night, there was a guy that was asking about, you know, would I switch to other steels? No, not the way we do it. I mean, Vinny, when it comes to abrasion resistance, didn't you put your neck knife that I made for you on a stone and you said it just skated? They are incredibly hard, incredibly wear resistant. And I've dropped mine, and you can strop. Look, there's a Japanese knife smith that I've watched do knives and strop them and straight razor and strop them on his hand. Patience is the key to any of this. Like you're exactly. Ooh, who said that? Who said that? All it takes is patience. Water will erode stone. It's true. Bruce Lee taught us that. Water is the softest substance in the earth, but you put it in a glass, it turns into a glass. You put it in a glass, turn it into a vase, it turns into the vase. But water can break stone. But it must be tin. Must be tin. I love you guys. So these are almost done. Who the fuck would make a knife out of vanadium by itself? That'd be like saying, I'm gonna make a fucking knife out of fucking tungsten. That's stupid. Stupid. Vinny, think about what you say before you... Does your brain hear the words you say, or is it just kind of drift in and out? Like, hey, what's going on? Oh, fuck, I'm sorry, I went away for a second. Who the fuck would make a knife out of vanadium? There's so many problems with that. It's like Maximat, 13% tungsten carbide. Fucking Elliot did a fucking video of the day, and they're probably going to put it up. Who the fuck would make a knife out of that? Who? Why? Why do you need it? I know Rockwell sells, but... Great. No one's going to make a knife out of vanadium, Vinny. Here's what I want you to do, Vinny. Before you say things to me, I want you to think about what you're going to say. And then stop. And go, let me think about that again. And then stop. And then ask yourself, should I say this? And I think that you would find that about 90% of the time you're going to go, yeah, and I probably shouldn't say this. Got to keep that. Yeah, you notice he doesn't have one anymore. You got to keep that in sometimes. Just suck it up. Like, no, I'm not saying it could cut a diamond, Vinny. Vinny, do you just because you like to hear your head bounce? Like, you just hear your head rattle? Yes, I do get that, but I'm not saying... You're not listening, so I'm not going to argue anymore. You just enjoy arguing. This is true, Herb, because guess how my knives, those knives that are in there, guess what they were cut out with? Fucking water jet. I'd win. I'm evil. Do you want to know how evil I am? I want you to hear what I did the other night. My wife turned and looked at me and was like, "Oh my God." So we were driving the car, and Chris and I had this same conversation today, and I didn't think about telling him this. So Chris and I were talking about the things that you don't say that you want to, but you know it's not acceptable. And so no one lets the monster out because you don't want to. You might let him in the fenced-in yard and just bark a little bit, but no one lets him fully. Nobody lets that motherfucker run down the street and shit. I let mine out the other day. So my wife and I were driving. I had my daughter in the back seat, and this lady and guy cut us off. And I almost wrecked the car. And so I missed my turn, drove up, got up next to them. Their window was rolled down, rolled my driver's side window down, yelled in their passenger side window. I said, "If you motherfuckers have kids, I hope they die in a fucking car fire." And immediately realized that I just let him off leash. Monster off leash. Let that motherfucker out of the yard and roam free. And to the point where my wife was like, "Oh my God, you said that out loud." And my wife's fucking evil. And she was like, oh. And I felt that. So for me to acknowledge how horrible that was, it was bad. It was bad. And you know what I was just thinking about? My daughter's friends watch my YouTube channel. I'm going to have to set age restrictions on this, I believe. I am. It's going to be a necessity. I don't want angry parents. No, I didn't. What happened was I got the opportunity to order a half a sheet of steel, and it was not anything. Not saying that it wasn't in the back of my head after you said it, but I didn't pay for the steel. The steel was gifted to me. So water jet came out because I had enough pieces that I got water jet at a fairly decent price, and everybody was like. I mean, it put it in my head. I was like, I could, and I had thought about it before. I had Elliot water jet stuff out for me. Overall, it's, somebody was like, oh, does that mean the prices are going to up? It doesn't, because basically, it doesn't, all it does is take out one step of the process, which is the angle grinder. And it's still a lengthy, time-consuming process. And basically, at the time that I was doing these, that first couple days before, basically everything up to heat treat was free. I was not doing it the smartest way possible. And Elliot told me, he's like, you need to either find a better way or raise your price. And we've established that there are things like, I know that people are like, a lot more. So it didn't really, but here's the thing, it didn't really save me time. It took me 2 weeks to get steel and water jet. And then it took me a week for double disc grind, which I'm pretty sure that they're all going to get double disc ground from now, because it leaves them perfect and pristine when they come out of the oven. Another step that I don't have to worry about, which is sanding, to make sure they're perfectly fine. So does it really make it faster? No. Is it going to change the price? No. Because the fact is that basically at this point, I'm not an established maker like Elliot. I can't charge for those things yet. As I progress, things may change, but I cannot charge for all those steps. I'm basically only charging for the time it takes me after heat treat to make a knife. That's basically all I'm charging. And so, once again, Apostle P is not making his knives from hand. He's having them produced. Yeah, fries are done. Let's go look at how these come out. So they go in kind of dull, kind of almost a matte, and they come out. Woo, that's hot. Nico, you should be able to tell him. No, Apostle P doesn't make knives. He designed knives. So they come out and they are significantly more, you can see that they're shiny. Let's see if I can get a hold of one of these. You guys will see something cool here. Nico's seen it. Yep, that's pretty hot. You want to see how hot it is? Watch this. It bakes on and it gets a sheen on them. My hands still smell like that goddamn Weeks rust remover over there. Hey Nico, ain't notice anything over there? Hey Ray, shit, I can't wait for you to be able to buy one, because guess what? I need money. Let's see. So these, Nico's seen me do this a bunch of times. My fingers have been, apparently Robert came and picked his shit up, picked his stuff up from the shop yesterday or day before. So these two have already got a finish on the spine, because these two are going to be tumbled. These two have got something special that's going to happen to them. These ones will get their, now that they have a black, so now I'm going to do their, not today. Just water. I'm just quenching them in water because they're hot. And I want to get done with this and go home and spend time with my fucking family. Dude, like, Nico can tell you, see all that right there? That's all one big callus. I have blistered that and not even realized it. Like, wake up, I'm like, oh, hey. That's like a permanent scar from when I'm grinding these. So when I grind these, the tool rest is my finger. And all the material that's coming down, the sparks and all the powder, the dust metal, is super, super fucking hot. I mean, it's melting. It's coming off. And I will grind until I have a fucking blister and just not realize it. You can see it right there. It's like a permanent scar. And my thumb and finger, I can pull shit out of the fucking oven now. Vinny, I know you're doing it just to be argumentative, but it doesn't make you less of an asshole. I do agree with you, Vinny. There's steels that you need. Like, I'm pushing the limits of my shit on 20 CV. I really am. I'm pushing the limits. But the thing is, it requires patience. And so even and I'm putting a lot of wear on my stones. I'm not, what am I looking for here? How do I, to overcome the fact that those stones are maybe a little softer, is I just spend more time and patience, and that's how you get a result. Like, I mean, guys that have had my edges aren't going to argue. Chris and Elliot are like, it's not that they can't sharpen knives. They fucking, their knives pretty much come as sharp as any knife. Like, this knife, when I bought it, was the first Farron Forge knife I ever bought, and I got it. I was like, Jesus Christ, that's fucking sharp. Now, I did want to change the angle on mine a little bit, but the fact is, Elliot's edges are the best I've seen. They are. They come fucking sharp. Every once in a while, I get one that maybe, you know, is a little less than some of them, but the fact is, the man spends time to hand sharpen every knife, and it's part of that price. Now, the thing was that when I started sharpening some knives for them, they were like, wow, okay. It's not that they can't, and it's not that they're not good at it, but there's additional refinement that I can do on an edge. And so they just decided, I mean, we're talking about guys that put out $1 million worth of knives last year, and they're going to let me do all of their knives this year. But I don't know, do it here. Okay, so the thing is, I would have to have so much space. Like, you've seen when I sharpen at the house, I use that entire workbench. I would have to bogart an entire area of the counter. They wouldn't be able to use that. I would be using up space. So what I do is I take them home. And the other thing is, my other stones, no, $1 million worth of knives left the shop. They did not make $1 million worth of knives, but that's, you know, that's how many knives left this shop. So at any rate, doesn't matter. So they're trusting me to sharpen every knife they make next year. We'll see how that goes. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I talked to Brian Nadeau twice now about sharpening his knives because he hates sharpening knives. And so you do a quick 220 belt, Boettiger, Boettiger. So I do too. So what happened was he was just making enough knives to try and just keep the lights on at his house, and he basically, as much as I love Robert, he never threw himself into it to do what it would take to make a go of it. So he basically was just doing what he needed to do to stay afloat and, you know, afford food and turn the lights on and shit. So he really wasn't stepping out to try and make an actual profit. So, you know, there's some people that find a comfort zone and they're fine with that. I've never been that person. I call it stagnating. The whole time I was in the military, I was never happy. I tell my daughter all the time, I was like, I don't want you to not be proud of what you've done, but I don't want you to be satisfied. You should always be trying to, okay, what do I have to do next to push myself past what I'm currently doing? And I had stagnated and I didn't realize it. I had stagnated at a job at the DOD, and it was fucking slowly killing me, and I couldn't figure out why. Because I wasn't challenged. I had not challenged myself. Like, the challenge I'm talking about has to be an internal source. It can't be external. You cannot rely on someone else to push you into something. It has to come from inside. And I've always had that. I grew up on a farm, and I would work harder than I needed to. I was in the military. I would always underpromise and overdeliver. And I pushed myself past. It's fucking 8:04 at night. I'm not even done, because guess what? I had a package show up. So when I get home, it's a good chance I'm gonna grab a beer, I'm gonna go out, and I'm gonna sharpen knives. Because, like I said, my grandfather always told me that a man can judge himself in 2 ways: what he has and what he can do. And who would you rather be friends with? A man that wakes up in the morning and just wants to get done at the end of the day and stand back and say, look at what the fuck I did? Or be friends with a guy that stands back at the end of the day and says, look what the fuck I got? Hands down. There's no fucking contest who you want to be around. A man that will test himself and work himself and see what kind of limits he can push himself to, that's the guy you want to be friends with. Those are the guys that might not get rich, but goddamn, they're fucking good people. And my grandfather and my father before him, those were all those same people. So both my grandfathers, I mean, and my father, those were the kind of men that I grew up being around and learning from and things like that. I did that job at the Department of Defense, and they gave me awards, and I got fucking stickers, and, or not stickers, but fucking plaques and shit. And I was like, I don't need this. You know what I need? I need y'all to leave me the fuck alone, so at the end of the day, I can stand back and look and say, look what I fucking did. Get the fuck away from me. Quit trying to distract me and pull me off of other shit. I fucking set myself to something. I always like to think of myself as self-motivating. I don't need a motherfucker standing there telling me what to do. I mean, standing over me, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. You tell me what you want done, just let me the fuck go. It's gonna happen. Grew up on a farm, I'm doing that the way it is now. Just wish there was more knives on my bench right now. Hopefully I got a couple things in, because my wife and I had to talk about the fact that I've spent $20,000 out of our savings account trying to build this business. The knife making is not intended to be the primary source of income, because it's a hobby. I have to have a hobby. Knife sharpening, I love it. I'll do it every day. I'll wake up every morning, sharpen knives every morning, and not fucking work a day of my life. But with that, you have to have something else you can do. You can have a hobby where you can make some money. Fuck yeah. So, I don't know, guys. I don't mean to pontificate. And I know some of you guys like these fucking kind of live feeds, but some of y'all don't. But God, these look pretty. So these are going to get it. What's going to happen with these is both of these are going to have a Las Vegas finish. One of these is Jeremy's. He doesn't know what's going to happen yet. These are going to get the rock pattern after, dipped in yellow ceramic, which is gold on a polished surface. And then there's going to be a line of pink. And Vinny's is going to have, or not Vinny's. I'm saying Vinny's because there's a guy that wants one exactly like yours, Vinny. So well, so you know, guys, 3 of these were spoken for. No, I have to drive home. So 3 of these are spoken for, and 1 of them is going to be a special. I carry something in my pocket. You guys want to see what it is? Because I refer back to it. Nika knows what it is. We're not going to go deep into it. Bender knows what it is. It's called a memento mori. And I've had it for a long time, and I didn't dig it out until I started seeing advertisements for it. So a memento mori is, mine's pretty worn and pocket polished. A memento mori is something to remind you of your undefinite status in this world. And on the back side of it, it says, you could leave life right now. It made me think, Do I want to continue doing things the way I'm doing them and maintain status quo? Or do I want to leave this world with something to fucking show for it? And even if I fucking wind up living under an overpass, I'll know deep down inside, I fucking tried. Sits on my nightstand, goes right in my pocket when I get up in the morning. So, guys, my phone is almost dead. I am done for this evening. I am going to go home and spend some time with my family. I will talk to you guys later. If I have things to sharpen, I may do another live feed. Just depends on how I feel. I did drink a Monster at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So, you guys take it easy. Thanks for, I mean, the fact that there's 28 of you here. 28 of you guys here at fucking 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. It's fucking amazing. So you guys take it easy, and I'll see you next time.